This is our regular scheduled school board meeting for the month. Tonight, we've got some special, we've got a lot of special guests that are going to be the spotlight on education here in a little bit, but first we're going to ask Cedar Grove students to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's the maddest we've been in a while, isn't it?
Thank you. If we could have a moment of silence, just a second. Thank you. Approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Blair and a second by Mr. Holliday. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Nipper and a second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Tonight we don't have any visitors, so Mr. Odom, I'm going to turn it over to you. We got some special recognitions.
We sure do. Mr. Tackett, would you please come up? We have some recognitions for some achievements from some of our athletes. So,
Members of the board and ladies and gentlemen, what a great honor we have this evening to recognize three young men, two in particular, for their recognition on December the 3rd at the TSSAA Awards Banquet at the Embassy Suites right here in Murfreesboro. The finalists for Mr. Football for the state of Tennessee were in attendance, and then the award winners were given. But I think we can all agree that just being one of the finalists is a big, big deal. And congratulations, the fact that we have three of those in Rutherford County is something very special. It says a lot about our coaching staffs, about our dedication to what we're trying to do. And so we want to recognize that. And in that, congratulations not only to the player, but also to their families, the dedication it takes to get to that level, to the coaches, again, the coaching staffs that are there, the fellow players. We can all agree that this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens with good players that are on good teams. And I think there's a common denominator with this, that all three of these teams represented had outstanding seasons, and we're very proud of what happens in our system, but it's because of that, and it brings great honor to the school. First, let me quickly recognize Denzel Harding, who will not be with us tonight, from Siegel High School, a TSSAA Mr. Football finalist. He is actually in Cookeville tonight, participating in the last practice before tomorrow night's Tennessee All-Star football game, and that's where he will be. And Coach Greg Wyatt, who is also the athletic director at Siegel High School, and Principal Jason Bridgman, we want to recognize them. They've been invited, and I think will be at our January meeting to be fully recognized. But we do have two in attendance this evening, so at first, the first one we'll recognize is Chris Hale from Eagleville High School, a TSSAA Mr. Football finalist, and Coach Steve Carson is here. I'll invite Coach Carson to come up and bring Chris and Bill Tollett, the principal, here, and anybody else, family that would like to be recognized. Coach, you just do it any way you'd like to do it. But come up to the microphone if you would.
Well, I certainly appreciate you guys having Chris up here and to recognize him and our school. It's certainly a pleasure and honor to be able to come up here and talk about a fine young man like Chris. It's very easy to do. As Mr. Blair said, I don't have to embellish much tonight. Chris is a good kid, a good boy. Just give you a few of his stats from this past year. Chris ran the ball 218 times for 1,980 yards. Had 24 rushing TDs, so that's just a hair under 10 yards a carry. Caught 10 passes for 144 yards and 4 more touchdowns. That came out to 15 yards a catch. He returned 5 kickoffs this year for 259 yards and 1 touchdown. That's an average of 51.8 yards per return on the kickoff. Didn't get kicked to a lot, as you can tell. Had 7 punt returns for 178 yards and 1 touchdown. That's 25.4 yards per punt return. Scored 30 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions for 184 points for us this year. Had a total offense for the year for 2,345 yards, which came out to about 215 yards a game, total offense. And he did all that also while playing just about every snap on defense. Had 45 tackles from his strong safety position, 3 interceptions, and he was also our punter. Punted the ball 27 times for right at 30 yards per punt. And so he was a pretty busy and tired young man on Friday nights. So his career stats, he carried the ball 576 times for 4,416 yards for his career, with right at 8 yards a carry for his career rushing stats at Eagleville High School. Averaged about 12 carries a game for his career. So he achieves a lot of these yards not by running it, 40 times a game. He averaged about 12 yards a carry for his career. Had 20 receptions for 200 more yards, so he was just a hair under 5,000 yards of total offense for his career at Eagleville High School, and had 49 career touchdowns. Chris is looking at several Division II schools showing interest in him right now. His grades are in order, and I think as soon as he unfortunately had a pretty terrible knee injury in our quarterfinal game against Adamsville, but once he gets that repaired, I think he's going to be good to go, ready to play at the next level, I hope. During Chris's career, just kind of tell you a little about how we were while he was playing for us. During his career at Eagleville, we won 34 football games. We averaged almost 9 wins a year for his career there. Won 2 district championships. We had a district record of 21-3. Advanced to 3 consecutive TSAA state quarterfinal playoff games. And Chris was a huge part of that right there, but he'd be the first person to tell you that, even though being a Mr. Football candidate is an individual award, if our team had not been successful, if we hadn't had a successful team, he may not have had a chance to be invited to be considered for Mr. Football. And in order to have a successful program, you must have an incredible amount of support from your administration, from the faculty, from central office, and certainly from members of the school board. And Coach Tollett and the faculty and the administration at Eagle High School is just giving us just an incredible amount of support in running our program, as has folks up here at the central office and certainly the school board members. And we'd just certainly like to take this time to thank each and every one of you for what you've done for us. And we just really appreciate it. And thank you for having us up here tonight.
Thank you. Chris, do you want to say anything? Give you the opportunity.
Thank y'all.
Obviously, it's not been that long ago that the approval was made for Eagleville to start a football program. And I'm not sure that anybody really looked around and saw just how incredibly successful that program would be in such a short period of time. It's been great, and I know the community of Eagleville is very proud of what's taking place out there. Our second attendee this evening is from Oakland High School's Jack Jones, the TSSAA Mr. Football Award winner. And I should know the history of Oakland if anybody does, but I was very surprised when I read in the paper that Oakland had its first perfect season this year at 10-0. The state championships had been there, but the first perfect season at 10-0. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to that state championship that we were hoping for, but there's quite an accomplishment, a great season, and congratulations to head coach and AD Thomas McDaniel, who is not here, and he is also at the Tennessee All-Star and participating. Principal Bill Spurlock is here, and Matt Snow is here to make the presentation. So if you guys would come forward and introduce Jack Jones and recognize him.
I too would like to thank the board, Superintendent Odom, for having this here tonight and how you consistently support athletics in this county. Academics is number one, but athletics is pretty darn good here too. So we like it that way. Jack, he's a lineman. He was Mr. Football Lineman of the Year. He doesn't have any statistics. He doesn't get to carry the football. So he had a lot of pancakes though, and pancake blocks when you knock a guy on the ground. He had more of those than I've ever seen any player have. He's 6'5", 270. He has a commitment to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville and to play football there. And more important than that, we could go on and on about his football career, but he is a true gentleman giant in the classroom and in the hallways and in social settings. He is a perfect gentleman, and he should be what the student athlete should be, and he's a giant on the football field. So he's a perfect gentleman, social settings and classroom, giant on the football field, and you can't ask for anything more. And so we're proud of him, and he is Oakland High School's. We had 2 firsts this year. One was the undefeated regular season, and we had our first Mr. Football winner. So, and you're looking at him right there, and he's, as you can see, he's a little bit bigger than I am. So Jack Jones.
I just wanted to say thank you all for what all y'all do for our community, and but before anything, just want to thank God for this opportunity. Without Him, I'd be nowhere right now, and my mom and dad and my family, and a great group of coaches and administration that are always helping me out to succeed in any way possible. Thank you, guys.
Any comments from the board?
Just congratulations for exceptional ability and success. Just so very proud of these student athletes. For them to be exemplary athletes and exemplary students, that's a great thing. Just so very proud.
I'll just make a couple comments in regards to what Coach Carson was talking about. If you haven't never been to a football game at Eagleville, I'd invite you to go out. It's a good atmosphere, small town atmosphere, I guess you could say, and it's really a lot of fun out there. Mr. Totten and them do a good job. Secondly, the Joneses are my neighbors, and so I get to see Oakland quite a bit. And one thing I noticed, I said something to Jack's daddy one morning eating breakfast, that I turned in the neighborhood one night, and I don't know what kind of car Jack drives, but it's one of them big white Suburbans or something like that. I looked behind, I wonder what in the world's going down the road. Well, evidently Jack's getting his exercise pushing that vehicle down the road. So, you know, Jack, he's a hard worker and everything, and I appreciate what the Jones do for the programs here in town. So I just figured I'd throw a couple comments out. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Odom, spotlight on education.
I'm going to ask Principal Mark Julian to come up to the, if you would, to the podium for some introductions. We have with us tonight Cedar Grove Elementary School Choir, and boys and girls, that was one of the best pledges we've had in a while. A lot of enthusiasm and volume with that. I was at Cedar Grove a couple of weeks ago. I always enjoy coming to Cedar Grove, and just a great academic school, and you're going to share with us tonight some of the talent from the choir. Love to hear children's voices singing. I'm going to get to hear that tonight. I like that.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Williams.
First off, we want to thank you, just like the gentleman mentioned beforehand. It's definitely a privilege and an honor for us to be here. We are very proud of our academic success over the last several years at Cedar Grove, but we also like to highlight the extracurricular activities that we have at our school. These are 29 members of our Cedar Grove Choir. Many of them double up and also are in the Cedar Grove Band, which we actually have 50 members there. So many of these students are giving us, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week of their time after school. The gentleman in the back, Mr. Tyson Hoppy and Mr. Hugo Sanchez, just terrific music teachers. I couldn't ask for two better ones for our school and for our students. and I know the students are excited to perform this evening. They've been working very hard, so thank you again for this opportunity.
Boys and girls, you will be on television. The cameras are watching, and it will be on the Rutherford County cable channel, so you can watch it again sometime later.
Mr. Gullit said, I'm Mr. Sanchez, and Mr. Tyson Hoppy, he does the band, and he also plays for us. So we'll be doing 3 songs. The first one's called Santa Lucia. It's actually a Swedish song, but we learned it in English. We just stick to the language because it was a little challenging at this point. And then the second one is called Winter Fantasy. It's a mixture of 2 songs, so you kind of hear both your 2 songs going on. And kind of an all-time favorite, Feliz Navidad. That's the first half of the seal.
Shadows wreath round the earth, sunlight
Christmas.
Yeah, outstanding, outstanding.
Thank you.
We're going to be a little lonesome, Mr. Chairman.
Won't be the first time.
No.
All right, number 9, consideration of resolution. I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Holliday. I believe he has something to present to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the board's approval and, some discussion on Tuesday night during our work session, I thought it was appropriate and necessary that before the general session of the Tennessee Assembly came in January, that there were some issues that we had spoken to a year ago that we wanted to once again think about weighing in on again. So each of the board members have been provided with a copy of the 2 resolutions, and I thank our board attorney, Jeff Reed, for his consultation in preparing these. So I'll read the first. Resolution encouraging local approval of charter school applicants. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is responsible for providing a local system of public education, and whereas last year there had been proposed legislation before the Tennessee General Assembly that would place approval authority solely with the State Department of Education and their appointed board, and whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education passed a resolution in opposition to state approval of charter school applicants during the last Tennessee General Assembly session and forwarded the same to its state representatives and state senators during the last legislative session for reasons outlined in the resolution below. And whereas there remain proponents of state approval for charter schools before the Tennessee General Assembly, despite the profound impact of the Local Education Association and absolute accountability that remains with the local school board for the students impacted. And whereas current state statutes allow for the criterion of for the creation of charter schools, and whereas the current charter school statutes allow applicants to appeal local decisions to the authority of the state review panel, and whereas boards of education are locally elected by the citizens they serve, and whereas boards of education are most knowledgeable about the specific needs of their community given the inherent local nature, whereas decisions regarding charter schools can be made in a more knowledgeable manner in the localities proposed the charter schools are to serve, and whereas boards of education are most knowledgeable of community resources and possible educational, socioeconomic, and cultural deficiencies that statute requires charter school applicants to have specific impact upon. And whereas boards of education are experienced in evaluating test results for schools and knowledgeable about strengths and weaknesses of the schools in their system, and whereas boards of education are uniquely equipped to evaluate the mandated differentiation of charter school applicants from the in-place programs and resources offered by the public education system. And whereas members of the boards of education are accountable to the citizens they serve, which would be affected by the charter schools. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Education as follows. The Rutherford County Board of Education opposes any legislation or other similar effort to shift the approval of charter school applications exclusively to a state review panel. Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of this resolution and it being forwarded to the legislative delegation from Rutherford County.
A second.
We've got a motion by Mr. Holliday and a second by Mr. Blair. Any further discussion on
If
this?
I could make a statement that the crux of this is that the local board has jurisdiction in this process, rather than like Mr. Holliday stated, rather than a state panel to review. This is not saying that we oppose charter schools. I think during this process of the last application, especially with the training, we all received quite a bit of information and saw how the process worked. And I believe it is this board's opinion, and I know it's my opinion, that if a charter school provides something that we don't, or they can't easily, or less expensive, I think we would all be for that. So we're not in opposition of charter schools per se. We just want to make sure that we're still involved in the process, because literally we are the boots on the ground with the central office, with our administrators, with our educators. So they need to go into a real long diatribe, but this is not opposition to charter schools. It's just making sure that local governance is still involved. So,
Anybody else? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the second resolution is in opposition to school vouchers, and I'll read through this as well. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is responsible for providing a local system of public education, and whereas last year there had been proposed legislation before the Tennessee General Assembly that would create a voucher program allowing students to use public education funds to pay for private school tuition. And whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education passed a resolution in opposition to school vouchers during the last Tennessee General Assembly session and forwarded the same to its state representatives and state senators during the last legislative session for the reasons outlined in this resolution below. And whereas there remain proponents of vouchers before the Tennessee General Assembly, despite the serious problems vouchers would create for public education systems in the state of Tennessee and the increased cost it would create for the public education system. And whereas more than 50 years have passed since private school vouchers were first proposed, and during that time proponents have spent millions of dollars attempting to convince the public and lawmakers of the concept's efficacy, and yet 5 decades later, vouchers still remain controversial and unproven. And whereas the Constitution of the State of Tennessee requires that the Tennessee General Assembly provide for the maintenance, support, and eligibility standard of a system of free public schools with no mention of the maintenance or support of private schools. And whereas the State of Tennessee, through the work of the General Assembly, the Tennessee Department of Education, the State Board of Education, and local school boards, has established nationally recognized standards and measurements for accountability in public education. And whereas adoption and effort toward those standards have resulted in the highest gains ever recorded by the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or the NAEP, for the state of Tennessee, and vouchers serve only to divide and decrease this emphasis. And whereas vouchers eliminate public accountability by channeling tax dollars into private schools that do not face state-approved academic standards, do not make budgets public, do not adhere to open meetings and record laws, do not publicly report on student achievement, and do not face the public accountability requirements contained in major federal laws, including special education. And whereas vouchers have not been effective at improving student achievement or closing the achievement gap, with the most credible research finding little or no difference in voucher and public school students' performance. And whereas vouchers leave many students behind, including those with the greatest needs, because vouchers channel tax dollars into private schools that are not required to accept all students, nor offer the special services that they may need. And whereas vouchers give choices to And whereas vouchers give choices to private schools, not to students and parents, since private schools decide if they want to accept vouchers, how many, and which students they may admit, and the potential arbitrary reasons for which they might later dismiss a student. And whereas many proponents argue for these programs to increase options, but several options currently exist within public school systems. Through federal and state laws, students have the option of charter or magnet schools, and in the event of failing schools, students may attend other traditional public schools within the district. Whereas voucher programs divert critical dollars and commitment from public schools to pay private school tuition for a few students, including many who already attend private schools. And whereas vouchers are an inefficient use of taxpayer money because they compel taxpayers to support two school systems, one public and one private, the latter of which is not accountable to all the taxpayers supporting it. And whereas the citizens of Rutherford County are availed one of the highest achieving school systems in the state of Tennessee and would expect only that their elected representatives would continue to preserve every dollar available to the public education system, holding high the efficient delivery of educational services in Rutherford County as an example when debating extreme challenges in Tennessee education. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Education as follows. The Rutherford County Board of Education opposes any legislation or similar effort to create a voucher program in Tennessee that would divert money intended for public education to private schools. Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of this resolution and it being forwarded to the legislative delegation from Rutherford County.
Let's second that.
Got a motion by Mr. Holliday and a second by Mr. Nipper. Any further discussion?
Well, I could talk for hours about my opposition to vouchers, but I think this says it concisely and probably more succinct than I would, so we'll just let it stand on its merit.
I would like to point out to those elected officials that are in the General Assembly, it is not my personal intention, or I don't suspect the intention of this board, to ask them to go to the General Assembly empty-handed. We have performed outstanding in 2 years when the Department of Education for the state of Tennessee has changed the rules several times over. And they have done so in an effort to increase our performance and get us on the right track to being a nationally recognized outstanding educational system for the entire state. And our progress has been documented. We are on the right track. And any effort that divides our emphasis is an effort in the wrong direction. School choice is something that I'm familiar with, and I think school choice is real, but it should not come from the taxpayer dollars. There are taxpayer dollars for the state-mandated expectations of education, and that's what we need to do. I ask only that the Rutherford County delegation go and highlight what we've done right in Rutherford County. We can be an example to other school systems, and the statistics that we have developed are a model for any school system that is struggling, to potentially draw inspiration from and move forward. We're on the right track. Our governor has stated that. The Commissioner of Education has stated that, and we just need to stay on that right track. This is dividing the effort between public education and private education, and I just feel that it's ill-advised.
Well, NAEP was so critical of the state of Tennessee for our basically false advertising. When No Child Left Behind, the standards were set so low and they were never changed. Is that correct, Mr. Odom?
Part of them.
Pretty much just stayed stagnant, and we were professing to do so well, but nationwide we were not. And with all the improvement, with NAEP giving us such glowing remarks for what has occurred, vouchers to me is the one initiative that could really just turn back the hands of time and and literally destroy public education?
The logic that a representative might use in order to justify school vouchers would lead me to believe that the tax dollars that they get, they feel they know better as to how to allocate those back for education. And it just doesn't apply. They need to flow through the channels that we've currently got, and they need to come into public education. And that's what we can do.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 10.
Number 10 is facilities, and it's Christiana Middle School baseball irrigation system. Mr. Robert Horn, principal of Christiana Middle School, has requested permission for the installation of an irrigation system on the school's baseball field. The total installation, including a water meter by CUD, is estimated at $15,000. The funding will come from the Christiana Middle School baseball team. There will be no cost to the Rutherford County School Board. The installers will be responsible for all permits and requirements by state and local authorities. There is no gender equity issue since the softball team plays at the community field behind Christiana Elementary School. If anything, this addition will bring the baseball field more in line with the softball field. Recommend approval. Motion to approve construction of an irrigation system at Christiana Middle School baseball field. The Christiana Middle School baseball team will fully fund the construction and metering at no cost to the board.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Young and a second by Mr. Blair. Any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 11A.
This was the retirement system we talked about last night. It's on there, so in that, we're going to pull that, I think, as a
Remind about the contract for student management system.
That's the one we want. The state has approved five student management system attendance system vendors. Tennessee school systems can choose to contract with any one of the five. Mr. Oderman's staff reviewed all five and chose 3 for further evaluation. STI, Software Technology, Inc., Pearson's Power School, and Skyward were the finalists. Mr. Oderman's staff recommend the STI Software Technology, Inc. system. The product is the best choice for the lowest price and is widely used in Alabama. Rutherford County will have training and conversion cost of $53,800 for this product. The annual net cost per ADM will be $1.95. We plan to amend the 2013-14 General Purpose School Fund to cover the $53,800 training and conversion costs this fiscal year. Part of the $1.95 net cost per ADM will be an ongoing cost in the budget. Our estimate for the 2014-15 cost is $79,950. Since we will no longer have a separate charge for STAR's parent portal, the net increase for our student management system will start at around $22,500. The state will continue to cover the first $2.55 per ADM as it has with the STAR system. Recommend approval motion to authorize the Director of Schools to contract with STI, Software Technology, Inc., for a student management system in accordance with the state's request for proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Blair and a second by Mr. Blankenship. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this may be the appropriate time to mention the extensive discussion that we had on Tuesday night during our work session, as we did with the consent agenda and so many of the things on the agenda. And because of that, we're able to efficiently move through the meeting.
Thank you. Anybody else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. B.
This is some general purpose school budget amendments. Number 1, miscellaneous revenues and expenditures. This amendment adds a total of $243,464 in expenditures to the 2013-2014 general purpose school budget. It includes $231,385 in additional revenues and takes $12,079 from unassigned fund balance for grant funds that were not expended for 2012-2013. The amendment covers 4 different items. Takes from unassigned fund balance $12,079 that was left last June from the Jennings and Rebecca Jones Foundation grant and budgets it for professional development for the Spectrum staff in accordance with the grant terms. Recognize the additional $225,376 in account 47143 that the system has received from the state, which is flow-through federal funds, for its high-cost special education students. These funds must be budgeted for special education students this fiscal year in Function 71200 and 72220. The $46,759 in other salaries and wages covers a technology position we have to move from IDEA because of sequestration. Number 3, there's $6,009 in insurance recovery funds for a maintenance vehicle that will be used to help purchase another vehicle. And number 4, our vocational coordinator is preparing to retire and our administrative assistant is moving. This amendment reallocates the $17,484 remaining in the assistant's salary and transfers $49,788 from Vocational Education Function 71300 to Function 72230, Vocational Education Program, to fund the replacement coordinator through the end of the year. Recommend approval. Motion to amend $12,079 from unassigned fund balance to Spectrum Professional Development to amend $225,376 into account 47143, Education of Handicapped, IDEA, and the related special education expenditures to amend $6,009 in insurance recovery funds and the related expenditure for a maintenance vehicle, and to amend Function 72230, Vocational Education Program, and 71300, Vocational Education, in order to cover the replacement positions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Holliday and a second by Ms. Blankenship. Any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 2.
This amendment is for classified staff. This amendment reallocates $5,770 in already budgeted classified staff pay and benefits, $4,795 in pay and $975 in benefits, to cover line items where replacement staff have more experience than the staff in place when the budget was prepared in early 2013. No new positions are involved. $5,770 in available funds for library assistants are being used to cover shortages in 71,300-162 vocational clerks in the schools, 72,130-162 guidance clerks, and 72,215-189 alternative school staff. Recommend approval. Motion to amend $5,770 in already budgeted classified staff pay and benefits to cover other classified staff budget line items where replacement staff have more experience than the staff in place when the budget was prepared in early 2013 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Blair and a second by Mr. Holliday. Any further comments on this? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 3.
Number 3 is for the attendance student management system, and these amendments to begin that movement of data. The amendment funds $40,800 for data conversion and $13,000 in training costs for our new student management system, STI, Software Technology Incorporated. No new funds are being requested. We would be able to fund this expenditure with savings from 3 already budgeted line items. These funds are available because of late changes in our E-rate reimbursement and savings in postage. Number 72320-307, communication from Director of Schools, $20,000. 72320-348, postal charges, $10,000. 72410-307, communication, office of the principal, for a total of $53,800. Recommend approval. Motion to amend $53,800 from already communication and postal charges budgeted to contract services for attendance in order to fund the data conversion and training costs for our new attendance software as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Nipper and a second by Mr. Holliday. Any further comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 12.
Number 12 is licensed practical nurse, LPN for Siegel High School. Siegel High School has seen an increase in the number of procedures that must be performed by a licensed nurse. On a daily basis, there are 7 tube feeding procedures, 2 diabetics whose insulin must be calculated based on the number of carbohydrates consumed, and 14 students taking medication. These procedures are over and above the day-to-day sick or injured student visits and parent and physician contacts. The recommendation is to hire 1 part-time LPN, licensed practical nurse, to perform procedures in the busiest of schools, which is currently Siegel High School. These procedures would include tube feedings, catheterizations, insulin injections, and medication administered, among others. The registered nurse at the school would supervise the LPN in performing these procedures while continuing the other necessary nursing functions that only the RN can perform, including assisting sick and injured students and contacting parents and physicians. Based on a review of average LPN wages in Tennessee hospitals and other school systems, the salary for a part-time LPN working 5.5 hours per day, 5 days a week, with no benefits is $18 per hour. We recommend approval. Motion to hire 1 part-time 5.5 hours per day LPN licensed practical nurse to perform procedures in the busiest of schools, which is currently Siegel High. These procedures would include tube feedings, catheterization, insulin injections, and medication administration, among others.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Holliday and a second by Mr. Blair. Any further discussion on this? Mr. Holliday?
I just wanted to point out, this is a perfect example of the challenges that we face in public education, tube feedings during the school day, because in public education, we welcome every single student. And the definition of every is every student. No matter what the challenges are, we have the responsibility to provide these medical personnel, in this particular case, in order to be able to accommodate them and offer them an education, and an education at a high standard, at a Rutherford County standard.
Mr. Chairman, we had a nice discussion along with the explanation of this last night. In board comment, I would like to talk a little bit more about LPNs in those schools that do not have a full-time RN.
General discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 13, policies.
Number 13 is our second reading on new and revised policies. A is the adoption of policy 3.208, facilities planning. Purpose of this adoption, district required by federal regulations to implement a policy regarding facilities management and asbestos plan management. B is policy 4.606, graduation activities. Purpose of this revision, district required by state regulations to have a policy regarding recognition for students who graduate with distinction and state honors. And policy 1.404, appeals to and appearances before the board. Purpose of revision, to limit visitor presentation to 3 minutes and prohibit visitors from making personal attacks against board members or school system personnel. Policy 1.803 is the tobacco-free schools policy, and the purpose of this revision is to add electronic cigarettes and vaporizers to the list of prohibited items. And E is policy 1.704, charter schools. The purpose of this revision is to add the following requirements to the application process: compliance with Tennessee Department of Education application requirements, timely filing, budget submitted on approved forms, grade structure equivalent to structure of the system, students must reside within Rutherford County, candidate status for SACS accreditation must be received within the first year of operation for grades 9 through 12 schools. 9 through 12 schools must meet system graduation requirements and provide a curriculum to meet the University of Tennessee, Tennessee Board of Regents, and NCAA requirements for Division I schools. Compliance with all state and federal rules regarding nutrition, transportation bids, and purchases, and special education. And F is policy 6.702, student clubs and organizations. The purpose of this revision is to distinguish between curricular and non-curricular clubs and provide rules for posting materials in school buildings. Recommend approval. Motion to approve the adoption of policy 3.208 and revision to policies 4.606, 1.404, 1.803, 1.704, and 6.702 on second and final reading as recommended by the policy committee. Mr. Young asked me prior to the meeting about the asbestos requirements, and this is a federal requirement, but asbestos has been removed a long time ago. You have, Mr. Carr, do you have any follow-up with that?
I'm sorry.
The asbestos, I said that was removed. It's a federal requirement that we include this in there, but that's been removed. For our people listening, I think we need to say that.
It's been a federal requirement for 20 years, and we actually have had a policy in place. It's never been formalized, but we have followed federal law. We have inspected all of our schools per federal law. We keep a record of any that is removed, and we're getting down pretty close now. There's still some all around, but we are in federal law now.
Anybody else?
Move to approve on second reading.
Got a motion by Mr. Holliday and a second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 14, annual policy review. As I mentioned the other night, just a little bit of homework for you. Maybe one of these nights Miss McLeod will give us a test. See how much y'all read. 15, general discussion. Mr. Blair?
I have a couple of things, Mr. Chairman. Again, through the presentation of the RN versus LPN at the work session Tuesday night, I would like at the, as we start this budget process, that we include possibly utilizing an LPN in these schools that do not have or are not large enough for an RN, and still, let the RN still have the supervisory opportunity. But I think for the comfort and safety of our children and just the comfort of our parents, if they knew there was a medical professional inside the building, be it an LPN, would be much better than not having anyone at all. And so I would like, as we work through this budget process, that the board take in consideration of utilizing an LPN in those schools that do not have a full-time RN.
And Mr. Sandy can build that in for our discussion purposes.
I think we're just talking about, what, eight schools?
How many total nurses do you know we have now?
I believe that's what she said last time.
Well, just 8 schools that are lacking.
We had one position that's still on. We'll find out.
Okay.
The other thing is an announcement, and I'm a little ahead of Mayor Toon, but Mayor Toon of Eagleville received final approval from USDA today to go for bid and construction of the Eagleville sewer system. It's been a long time coming, and I know Mr. Clardy and the central office has all been involved, and but it looks like it has come to fruition. So Mayor Toon will be announcing here in an hour to his council that he received a letter of approval today. So that's good news for Eagleville, and it improved their quality of life, and would also help sustain the Phase 1 addition with the new classrooms and facility.
And we've committed to hook up to that system.
Yes, we have funds committed in this year's capital improvement budget, so we're ready to go and we come to hook up to it.
I think during the process of laying the sewer lines, I think CUD will also be upgrading the water lines in that area. So I think they're going to lay side by side, so they'll have new water lines along with the new sewer lines. So again, the quality of the town is going to improve substantially.
Mr. Holliday?
I believe I'm correct that the county commission will meet this evening, and part of their agenda will be the appointment of a new school board member. And I certainly want to wish our county commissioners wisdom and that the appropriate process would come to fruition. I look forward to having that seat filled in January and be in full strength here on the board and welcoming a new member.
Mr. Clark.
I'd say probably next 10 minutes, Mr. Holliday, y'all have a new partner over there.
There we go.
Yeah, I see that Mr. Young couldn't wait to get away from you.
It seems.
We are. Mr. Clardy?
I'd also like to say that we're investigating putting a repurified water line from this new sewer system back to Eagleville High School for irrigation purposes.
Great.
We can afford it, so we're looking into that also while we got the ditch opened up.
Is Siegel High School the only facility that is locked into repurified water?
Yes, that's the only one that we have access to close enough to.
Well, that would be great if we could get that citywide at least, maybe one day.
Anybody else? Only other thing I've got, next meeting, be Monday night, the 16th at 5:30. Everybody good? No minds at ease?
That's a throwback, Mr. Chair.
We're adjourned.